So one of the most important things you need to do to get better dating results online is to do a photo shoot. However, too many times I see guys approaching the photo shoot process all wrong. They end up wasting too much time and money. That's why in today's video, I'm joined with my assistant coach, Felipe, who also used to be a prior client of mine in my Digital Romeo mentorship, where we've helped hundreds of professional guys just like you expand their online dating results. So together, we're gonna tell you 5 things you must do before every single photo shoot. So just to introduce Felipe real quick, like I said, he used to be a prior client. And then I noticed through your great results, which you improved your social media presence, you improved your aesthetics, your sex appeal, your style, everything about you 10x, which is why I consider the fact of you teaching our students and you became an assistant coach. But not only that, you're actually a dating app photographer now, right?
Yep, that is correct. And I appreciate your words. Obviously, there was a lot of work that was put in, but you know, the mentorship and just the community as a whole has really motivated me a lot to excel to be the best man that I can. And I think now we're seeing the fruit of it.
Now, Felipe, how long have you been doing dating photography specifically?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been doing photography for a couple years now. Editing and all that has been like a real passion of mine, but specifically dating photography and helping men about 1.5 years or so now.
Okay, so needless to say, Felipe has a lot of experience about what we're gonna discuss in this video. And even me, myself, I've done hundreds of photo shoots. In fact, even today, we're doing a photo shoot together. And so that's why we decided to create this video, just to really put in perspective the preparation that is needed if you want to 10x your results with online dating. So the first tip is that we have to find the right photographer. Now, Felipe, me and you have seen our clients multiple times kind of source the wrong people. They think just because it's a high quality picture that this person is good specifically for dating app pictures or even social media. What have you personally found that guys need to do in terms of sourcing the right person or people they need to avoid?
Absolutely. So one of the biggest things that I would tell you and I would tell anybody else is that there's a lot of guys who do just photography in general, but it's what I call like the handyman photographer. It's the photographer that does weddings. It's the photographer that does portrait photography. It's the photographer that does, you know, doing so many different things all at once. You never truly get to master one thing. So one of the things that I tell guys to look for when they're doing photography is like focus on someone that specifically focuses on men, preferably. Focus on someone that also doesn't do heavy edits, someone that's not doing cinematic kind of style shoots, someone that's not posing you in front of some kind of graffiti wall, because this isn't a street shoot, right? We're trying to present you in an attractive way. We're trying to show you in a high value kind of way. And that is not the most high value thing to do, right? Another thing that you want to be mindful of is also the kind of lighting that's being shown on your face and facial expressions. That's such a big component, especially when it comes to like dating photography, is the facial expressions. If you have very wacky kind of expressions that are just very unappealing, that is going to directly affect you when it comes to dating apps. So you want to pay close attention to how attractive individuals look on this photographer's specific portfolio, and just keep this in mind. You want someone that's going to make you look like a GQ model. I think that's the best way to describe it. Yeah. Like, who wouldn't want to swipe on a GQ model?
Yeah, so it sounds like when we're sourcing for photographers specifically, we want to really take a look at how they're presenting their clients and where they're sort of shooting. We want to avoid, like you said, graffiti walls, anything I'd assume that's too scenic. We want to focus more on portrait, up close sort of shots, and preferably them mostly working with men.
Absolutely. And another thing that just came to mind that I think is equally important is that every man is different. We all hold different points of leverage, and it's equally important to know how to photograph one individual from the next, right? There are some guys who are a little bit more on the thicker side, other guys who are a little more on the leaner and not just like, they don't carry too much muscle mass. So understanding how these other individuals are being presented on this individual's Instagram and being shown in an attractive way is helpful to know that like how you will end up looking as well. So you want someone that understands how to present you well.
Now, this is interesting. Do you find that it's better for guys to source male photographers or female, or gender doesn't matter?
I think that's a great question. So personally, I have not had the opportunity to meet a dating app photographer that's a female. But I will say, from understanding like the female gaze and understanding like what female are genuinely looking for in other men, like through dating photography or like through online, I feel like as a man, I can also relate more to the individual to make them feel comfortable. Whereas if you're a female, I feel that there's a lack of connection that can happen there just from like an experience, but then also potential understanding of how they necessarily need to be presented in order to appeal in that right way.
That's a fair point, yeah. So I did realize you mentioned points of leverage. Now that's the next point I want to talk about, is that every guy needs to pre-plan what I call their points of leverage. And what this really means is the characteristic that makes you stand out compared to everybody else. Now, there's some different points of leverage we've discussed and that we actually talk to our clients about. However, I find that it mostly revolves around the aspects of your looks, money, or status. So looks, let's kind of discuss that first. I say the first one is definitely sex appeal. And so sex appeal is anything that makes you sexually more attractive. So kind of look at how we're presenting ourselves right now. Of course, we got, jewelry on, we got the nice style button down. We're not all the way button to the top. We got some tattoos. And so I consider sex appeal like a permanent point of leverage in some cases. However, it's more about how you change your style. And once you do that, that can easily be something that you can showcase. Now, another aspect of your looks, we can consider style, which kind of ties into your sex appeal, but even the fitness aspect of things. So if you have a lean physique, if you're beneath, I would say at least 15% body fat, all these are points of leverage that you can showcase that will work in your favor. Now, another aspect you can get into, Felipe, is the money side. So maybe showcasing like scarce resources or dope environments. Do you feel like that point of leverage in itself will actually make a difference if guys curate that?
Absolutely. So one of the beauties of having points of leverage is that they really pertain a lot to the individual. Your points of leverage aren't the same as mine. And from my standpoint, things like scarce resources can be utilized, can make a big impact in terms of like your results on dating apps. However, what I'll typically tell guys is that you don't necessarily want to lead with scarce resources. You want women to have a genuine desire for you as the individual and not your materialistic things. So if you're able to present yourself, like Austin said, at a physical level, very attractive, and you can get women to swipe on you that way and to be communicating with you, then scarce resources will come second, right? You're not leading with that, and that's not the reason why you're attracting them to you.
Gotcha, yeah. It's almost like a cherry on top. Of course, we don't want to lead with our money, like Felipe said. However, if you got it and you have everything else, I mean, why not? It's going to help separate you from the other guys out there, and especially when it comes to social media. Because one thing we talk about with our clients too is like what makes a good social media post versus like a good dating app post. And sometimes those things are a little bit different. Dating apps will be more on the portrait side versus social media tends to lean more towards like scenic or maybe showing more lifestyle. Still aspects and elements of portrait, but there's a bit of variability there. Now, one thing Felipe did mention is how points of leverage is kind of unique to the individual. And I want to touch on how one thing we do with our clients in Digital Romeo and also your clients who you work with on dating app photography or shoots is that we try to curate that points of leverage and see what works best for that individual. And of course, we try to lead with genuine desire, which means getting your fitness right, making yourself more attractive, your sex appeal, basically making yourself into that complete attractive man so that you can honestly just hire somebody like Felipe and that does half the job for you. And then after that, once we got the presentation down and the points of leverage on set, that's when we work on the dating strategy. So the texting, the dating app setup between all the apps, the dating funnel system, which also ties into the date setup process and actually building out your social media. So if you guys are interested in actually curating your points of leverage and learning how me and Felipe can help you actually put all this into action. Like I said, me and Felipe are in there every single week working with guys just like you. So if you are interested, I'm gonna leave a link down below. Now we got a few more, and you kind of touched on this at the beginning, but really I wanna get into the posing and facial expressions, because a guy could prep everything with their style, finding the right photographer, but if they get on the shoot and they're awkward or stiff or still probably not going to get the results that they want. So how should a guy go about practicing or learning what makes a good pose or facial expression?
Absolutely. So I would say that it all starts with your mentality, right? You're going to be in a public place. You're going to have a lot of people around you, but at the end of the day, this is your shoot. This is your moment. You are doing a transformation, and that's the way that you should look at it, right? It's not just a little moment in time where you're going to snap a photo and you're going to get to BGQ for a moment. No, this is a transformation for the rest of your life, and it's also a mentality change. So what I tell my guys is like, adopt the James Bond mentality. Like you should almost like go into life having that James Bond mentality of feeling confident, of feeling like people are looking at you and kind of like in admiration of who you are. And you want to go into that mentality because it is going to reflect through the photos. So one of the other things that I'll tell guys is that when you are trying to pose, you don't want to be overly stiff, right? If you feel stiff or you feel like you're trying too hard, it's because you are trying too hard. And that is exactly what you want to avoid. So for example, one of the things that I'll tell guys is that just one hand in pocket, thumb out, and then just relax. Almost like step forward a couple times, step back. And you want to lock in the expression, which I'll tell you in just a second how to do that. But you want to just take a couple steps back, forward and back. And then you want to be caught in just like this candid moment where your body's just like naturally letting loose. And same thing with the walking. When you're walking, yes, like walk slow. Your photographer will snap some photos of you. But again, it's just kind of feeling natural. You know, you don't want to like be feeling too stiff as you're doing these things. And you also don't want to be like thinking, because you see in Hollister and all these other magazines, people kind of posing with their arms up and all that, that's the right thing to do. That is far from the truth. Natural and normal is really what dictates here. It's what's going to help you get the best results. Because women can tell when you're trying too hard, specifically on dating apps. And we've seen it time and time again where the objection will be like, oh my gosh, did he do like a photo shoot? And that's the vibe that we are trying to stay away from. When you're trying to make this feel as natural as possible with like different outfit variations. Yeah. And when it comes to like your facial expression, you want to prevent from having like wrinkles kind of like happen on your forehead. So you don't want to like, you know, like be smiling super hard and causing like little wrinkles here. And you don't want like these super wide eyes, or, you know, if you don't have the best smile and nobody's ever complimented you, then it's probably best to just have like a little bit of a smile or a smirk. So, you know, just like what I tell my guys is lock in, you know, so after I tell them to like do their thing, they'll just lock in and they'll just kind of like look with like an intense kind of smolder, like this little sexy expression, right? Almost like if you were talking or like seeing the girl that you're attracted to and talking to her, like that's how you would kind of look at her, right? You wouldn't look at her like a little puppy, like scared, you know, you want to look at her with confidence and look at her like you're attracted to her. And that is the same kind of expression that you want to have in photos. So obviously there's a little bit of nuances in terms of how to get there, but if you're dealing with the right people that can help you get there, you can get there.
That was amazing tips, and some of the things that I've implemented sort of naturally over the past few years, because I've realized that whenever I go about a photo shoot and I'm just too posed, too stiff, or it just looks almost too curated, it almost comes off like a high school yearbook sort of shoot. And speaking about the objection, some guys will come to us and be like, yo, should I actually do a photo shoot? I don't want it to look too like perfect, or I don't want women to ask me, am I trying too hard, or they don't want to have that sort of thing attached to them or identity. So you're saying the best way is just approach it in the most candid way possible. Be natural, be relaxed. And even if the photo is high quality, if you compare that with the natural body language and sexy, expressive face, then it won't come off too dry hard.
Absolutely. The only thing that should really kind of be posed is your facial expression, right? Because realistically, I can't have like this like smoldering look all the time. You know, I'm actively speaking, my eyebrows are going up and down. But when it comes to a photo shoot, try to relax your body as much as possible, like be as natural as possible. And then the only thing that should actually be posed is your actual facial expression. That's it.
You know, I was speaking with a client earlier today and we were talking about posing, and the advice I gave him too is that I realized I've had the most natural looking poses whenever I was just always moving. And so a pose will look rigid whenever you're stiff and you're just taking the picture. But I've done these commercial shoots for actual companies before, and while I'm on the shoot, I was always moving. I'm adjusting my watch, I'm doing this, I'm moving, I'm looking, you know, assuming that the photographer is just snapping a lot of pictures too. And that's because inevitably, if you capture a lot of pictures and you're just naturally moving while also thinking about your facial expression, of course, then you have no choice but to get something that comes off natural.
Exactly.
Right? So always be moving. And one last thing I'll say is that Pinterest is an amazing site if you want to actually see some examples of how this is in action. Sometimes Instagram might be hard to like find certain people, but on Pinterest, all you gotta do is search attractive poses for men.
You can even look up like high value man on there. Like I've done it before. Yeah, I've done it before. And you'll get some really interesting individuals. I mean, here's one thing about Pinterest. For some reason, Pinterest decides to get like the most model-esque looking people in the world and just throws it under one single platform. So if you type in like styles for men, or you like beach styles, or like downtown styles, or like restaurant photo shoot, or whatever it is, and then just kind of have the man or male part afterwards, you're gonna see some very aesthetic looking men just kind of posing or getting into their zone, right? And that could be a great example for you when preparing for your next photo shoot.
Now, the next thing isn't something that has to do with your mindset or posing, but more so how we actually prep everything once we're ready. Can you hand me that stuff over there?
Absolutely.
So I'm not sure if you guys have seen this, but this is miraculous. This is miracle juice in a bottle. And what it is anti-wrinkle spray. So once again, you have everything prepped, facial expression, right points of leverage, right photographer. You get on the shoot, all your clothes are wrinkled, and now we have bad presentation. And so I find this to be just super helpful, just very practical to use. I personally don't like ironing my clothes or steaming them, it takes a lot of time. However, I take this, I spray it on the clothes, I fling it or I throw it in the dryer real quick and all my wrinkles are gone. You ever seen a client using any of this, or is this kind of new?
This is kind of new. Yeah. I will say that some guys just kind of stuff all their clothes in their duffel bag and then it's all wrinkly. Yeah. And thankfully they're working with the right guys, so I'll go in and I'll edit that out. Okay, but I promise you, there are individuals out there who will not do that for you, and you will have the most wrinkly shirt, wrinkly pants ever, and your photos are just not gonna look right.
Exactly. And then of course we got the lint roller, a staple that all you guys should use and have within your bag, especially if you're going out on a photo shoot. Now, hopefully this was very, very helpful. Felipe, where can they actually find you on Instagram?
So you can look me up at FSAER Photo. So you'll be able to get really good information also from my page on how to be able to get the best results when it comes to dating photography.
Awesome. And guys, don't forget, if you want to work with me and Felipe, because he is our in-house photographer within our Digital Romeo mentorship, where we help professional guys expand their online presence through social media and dating apps. If you are interested for implementation of everything we talked about today, once again, click the link down below, and hopefully me and Felipe can be talking with you here soon. And we're gonna see you guys in the next video. Peace.